Today around the cooler, we're going to follow up our best top 5 with our worst top 5 action movies of all time. So now we're going to do our worst of the worst of action movies. Looks like we've assembled a list of 5 here that I think are pretty stinky. Sam, if you were going to pick your worst 5, what's your first number 5 in the list here?
My number 5 is going to be all-time worst, Street Fighter.
Oh my God.
Absolutely horrible movie. Just a very bad career choice for Van Damme on this one.
Lots of those in that line of movie
God.
making. It's like getting kicked in the eyeballs. If your eyes had balls, it'd be like getting kicked in them. That movie was that bad.
I don't want to talk too much about it because that just gives it more street cred and opportunities for people who want to go look at a bad fucking movie.
Did you see it, Ken?
I did. It just goes to show that video games don't always make great movies.
No
Good
doubt.
point. Good point.
Terrible movie.
Okay, Todd, what you got?
All right, so my number 5 in this list would have been The Last Action Hero. Now, I know I'm stepping on some feelings at this point, and I'm okay with that. But, God, that movie was awful. I mean, Schwarzenegger's done some pretty bad ones. I mean, but the whole premise behind it, the action in the movie, the guy with the eyeball, I mean, that drove me absolutely berserk. The only redeeming quality of that movie, and I think you're going to agree with this, Ken, was the music.
Oh, I would agree. And also, yeah, the whole eyeball thing was weird. That's Charles Dance, I think, played that character.
Right.
And it was funny because you had some pretty big name actors in there as far as...
Well, when they were in the police station, I mean, it ran through a whole myriad of folks that were from action movies, obviously.
And you had a cartoon cat.
Yeah.
Played by Danny DeVito. I'm like, are you kidding me?
It was bad.
The only good stuff I've ever heard about that movie was the soundtrack because it did get a lot of good reviews.
You had some, Megadeth did a song in it, so there was some good, there's some stuff that I dig in it, that's for sure, for music. But
so yeah, it was pretty bad. But you had you had F. Murray Abraham, you had Tom Noonan, Anthony Quinn. I mean, you had all these named actors in there. It was just a bad idea.
I like the fact that they did portray Stallone as the Terminator when they went into the video store. That was pretty funny, actually.
That was a classic. And I'm thinking of Bridget Wilson.
Yeah.
His daughter.
She was flaming hot.
Yeah,
in that movie.
that's the only reason why you would go back and watch that movie.
Yeah, I mean, maybe in segments I could take that movie again, but as a whole, that was just a train wreck for me. I couldn't stand it.
Pretty bad. Let's move on from that one.
Oh yeah, this is gonna be a hard list to get through because we're gonna be like, oh, let's just stop talking. Ken, what's your number 5?
I picked Commando. All right.
Another Schwarzenegger right in a row.
Yeah, what do you need to say about that? You had Vernon Wells in that movie.
Alyssa Milano with his daughter.
Ray Don Chong.
John Matrix. Matrix.
Ray Don Chong, though. She actually was, I mean, she had some potential, but wow, that movie was just
That's
so
a long
bad.
way from Quest for Fire.
Exactly.
That was a classic. You didn't know what they were saying. You just watched what was happening in that movie.
You think Tommy Chong saw that movie stoned? I'm sure that he did.
I'm sure. Yeah. He's like, wow, that chick's hot. Oh, that's my daughter.
Yeah, wait a minute.
Yeah.
That did have some cool stuff in it, though. I mean, It had some somewhat cool weaponry in it. It was kind of cool watching them break into the arms store and get a rocket launcher out of there. I didn't realize those were for sale in California, but they break in and steal a rocket launcher.
Well, there's unfortunately people in California believe that you can go buy a rocket launcher in a store. But there was a line in there that says, "I'm going to save you for last."
Oh yeah.
But the funny part was when he ripped that seat out of her car.
A little Alpine. She has a little Alpine 500, and he doesn't fit, so he rips the seat out. And they're chasing a Porsche. That was the other thing that never made sense to me in that movie. They're driving this little 4-banger Alpine, and they're like keeping up with the Porsche in traffic. That always irritated me.
And then they climbed. Somebody got on a landing gear of an airplane.
Yes.
Jumped off and landed in water. So I was like, oh, come on.
There's a character in that movie that I always thought was just a fat Freddie Mercury, which was wasn't that his enemy in the.
That's Vernon. That's the Vernon Wells character.
And for me,
he was from Mad Max and Weird Science.
Yeah, and for me, he just looked like Freddie Mercury, and I'm like, oh my god, man, this is horrible.
Freddie Mercury's fat brother.
Oh God, it's going to be hard to move on from that.
Yeah, he's either an Aussie or from New Zealand, but he came in under that whole Mel Gibson thing.
Yeah.
With the whole Road Warrior, because that was really where he made his character. And you notice all the characters he played were that neoclassic post-apocalypse type character.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, so
He even kind of looked at it with the little chainmail vest that he was wearing in there.
He was clearly upset by how John Matrix treated him, though.
Right. Very homoerotic. Anyway, Sam, moving on to it, let's look at your number 4 pick here.
Well, it wouldn't be me if I wasn't breaking the rules. So, any movie that Steven Seagal is in, if he has a speaking role, it's a fucking horrible movie.
I'm gonna give you a part in a movie that I'm gonna try to change your mind here.
Okay.
But just on this one movie. It was the movie with Kurt Russell and the terrorists were on the plane.
Executive
It was
Decision. Yes.
Oh,
And he
yeah.
falls out of the airplane like 15 minutes into the movie. He's got like 15 minutes of cameo in this movie, and he falls to his death. Probably the best Seagal scene I've ever seen in my entire life.
That's because he was originally supposed to make it through the whole movie, but when they heard him talk, nope.
Yeah.
He's
Out
done.
on the plane with you, buddy.
Yeah.
He got caught in the airlock or whatever it was, and he was gone.
Yeah, I like anything he's fighting in because it's actually, he knows his shit when it comes to close quarter fighting. But speaking wise, he's just a fucking mope, man.
Well, he is. When you talk about some of his really bad movies, he did one called Fire Down Below.
Oh my God.
Oh, horrible.
And that was our first time to see Seagal on stage playing guitar with Marty Stewart. And I'm like, come on.
And then there was another movie that he played, because I know he's a guns and guitar guy. But
Yes.
there was some other movie he did with a guitar, and I'm trying to think of what that
he's
was.
actually a fairly pretty good blues guitarist.
Yeah.
He is. Yeah, we'll give him that. But
He's kind of a 1911 guy. I know he's got a good 1911 collection.
he did one with Michael Caine. It was up in Alaska. It was an oil field movie.
I remember that.
I'm trying to think of the name of that movie, but it was.
It's like a Red Adair type thing.
It was. He was that guy that came in dressed like an Indian shaman.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
horse blanket coat, all that shit. I remember that. Yes.
I like the way he would bounce between that role of Indian shaman and Sicilian. He kind of did that really well. And then he would throw a little New York in there every so often, and or it's like, come on, man, pick one.
Fucking Chief Guido.
Perfect.
It fits him for sure. Now he did make a couple movies that weren't too bad. Above the Law actually was pretty good. Pam Grier was his partner in the movie.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I believe that was his first incarnation of being in the movies, if I'm not mistaken.
That was actually pretty good. And then he did the Under Siege Tommy Lee
Tommy Lee
Jones.
Jones.
Yes. And Tommy Lee Jones' character was actually pretty damn cool in that.
Yeah.
And then plus that Playmate was in there.
Yeah, she jumped out of the cake.
Yeah.
And she went on to do what? She was Ellie
Baywatch.
Mae.
Hey,
That
She
and
did
Ellie Mae.
Ellie Mae. She did Baywatch.
Wasn't Busey in there too?
Yes, he was.
He was.
He was a submarine commander.
Commander Creel.
Yeah.
Commander Creel. He was a little
Oh
sub.
my god, we have a Busey sighting in this episode.
Yeah.
Well, hey, he plays the ultimate bad guy. He really does. But Tommy Lee Jones, that's
the only really redeeming quality of that movie.
That was pretty
That,
good.
and like you said, the Playmate jumping out of the cake.
Right.
That was phenomenal.
You had, was it Daryl Dye? Or Dale Dye?
Yeah, Dale Dye.
He was in there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good characters in that movie.
So who you got for your number 4, Todd?
Number 4 would be The Last Boy Scout with Bruce Willis. And this was, yes, that movie was god fucking awful. I could not stand that movie. And it's really sad because I'm a big Bruce Willis fan. I generally like Bruce Willis movies. Dude, the acting was so bad. The explosions were so bad. The one-liners were so bad. There was nothing redeeming about that movie for
The
me.
banter between those two was cool.
Oh,
When you
my
take
God.
a comedian like Damon Wayans, and you put him in a movie, you're expecting them to say clever, funny stuff the whole movie.
Right.
And that was the problem with that movie, is he kept trying to say clever, funny stuff that wasn't clever or funny.
No.
And
The
that was
shotgun shell toward the end within the fireplace.
Yeah.
It's a key, the kind that shreds. And it's like, oh
Yeah.
my God, how stupid.
But we had Bruce McGill was in there. Chelsea Fields was in there.
Right.
We had a lot of actors that were.
Who was the villain? What was the What was
Taylor
that?
Negron.
Man, I know you like that guy,
Yeah.
but he comes across as such a fruit. I mean, it's like, is he a gay villain? I mean, what are we doing here?
I don't know if I like the guy. I just thought that was in his roles. He usually plays some kind of stoner moron.
Yeah, that's true.
He was the pizza delivery guy in Fast Times at Ridgemont High. That's the only thing I
nice
remember.
pick out of that crowd.
Absolutely. And then he plays Milo, the
Right.
bad guy.
Right.
And it was actually a good role for him. It's, but the rest of the movie
I seem to have dropped my cigarette and goes, touch me again, I'll kill you. That was probably the best one-liner out of that whole movie.
Well, and the best part about, I thought, was in that movie, too, is when he, that senator that he, Senator Boehner, that got him fired from the Secret Service. And I thought that was pretty good when he got even with him. That was some fun
You knocked
stuff.
my teeth out.
That was that's the only good parts of that movie is you get to punch a senator and watch a bad guy blow up in his mansion.
Well, thankfully, that was the last Boy Scout that we ever had to watch. So moving on to Ken's number 4.
It's my favorite actor, John Travolta, in I Am Wrath.
Vinnie Barbarino.
I just can't.
Yes.
I just can't take Travolta as an action hero in any kind of movie. I mean, it was just terrible.
I watched that movie as well, and it was very hard to watch. Very difficult to watch.
I'm going to say that y'all are going to help me dodge a bullet because I've never seen that one.
You've done yourself a favor.
So he's playing a former black op agent who watched his wife get killed.
Right.
And he
Rebecca De Mornay, which
Yeah.
should have kept her around because she looked pretty good, even at 50 or 60 or whatever she is now. Amazing.
Well, it was definitely risky business for her to be in that movie.
Well, yeah, true.
Because that was terrible.
Oh, yeah.
It was just nothing worse than these actors that they give them catchy names like former black operative.
Yeah.
And they walk up looking like a busted can of biscuits in this movie. Just nothing worse than seeing a slow, lazy guy walk through, and all his moves are, when you watch the choreography, the fight moves, a group of kindergartners could have kicked his ass. He was that bad. It was that bad.
Anytime they put that guy in that role, it's not a sell for me.
No.
I can't believe it.
No, it's hard for me because I always want him to say, "My hair, don't mess with my hair."
Yeah, exactly.
I just worry. Can you tell I hate this guy in movies?
Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah, Vinnie Barbarino, past Vinnie Barbarino dialogue just keeps.
Yeah.
Well, you expect the guy to bust out in a dance and any like river dance or something. What is this guy doing, man?
Yeah,
Why is he
tough.
here?
Yeah, I agree.
All right, well, that was Ken's number 4. We're all the way down to Samuel's number 3.
Oh my Lord! Wild Wild West with Will Smith and Kevin Kline.
Yeah.
I tell you what, growing up, I used to watch the Wild Wild West weekly series, and that was by far some of the most entertaining TV we ever had. It was like James Bond back in the cowboy days.
Right.
When they decided to make a freaking movie out of this, and the way that they cast it, they killed this.
It's almost like they did it on purpose. We want to ruin this on purpose.
My childhood memory's dead.
Well, it was Robert Conrad and Ross Martin were in the original.
Right.
And it was kind of like the Old West Mission Impossible. Mm-hmm. They had all the gadgets. They had, it was a very cool movie.
The cool train.
Or cool TV series.
The caboose that they lived in.
Yeah. There was so much wrong with that movie. I'm trying to think of the bad guy that was in here. He, real famous bad guy. It was in the wheelchair.
Yeah, he's in the wheelchair.
Yes.
Another Salma Hayek movie.
That's true.
Let's take a pause.
Yeah.
She's so beautiful.
You could look at her for a few minutes.
Absolutely.
And maybe worth a buck or two. But.
And Kevin Kline, being a good actor that he is, it's just hard for me to buy him in an action movie like that. It was terrible.
Yeah.
Pairing of those two. Holy
Yeah.
crap.
Well, Will Smith. the whole. To me, that was Men in Black in the Old West.
Well, that's back in his heyday of popularity. They were looking to stick him in something else, and I think that's how he got there.
Yeah.
But you're right, Graham. That was
So
flipping off.
What do you got for 3, Todd?
For 3, I kind of went your route with your number 5. I picked Mortal Kombat.
I would agree.
Now, let me give you a little background. I used to play in game tournaments. I'm a big nerd. We all know that. Nobody's going to deny that. And I used to play in these gaming tournaments where I'd go out and play Mortal Kombat or play Street Fighter. And getting all pumped up to go see this movie. I remember, man, this is going to be such a great movie. I'm going to enjoy this. That was the most god-awful piece of shit ever put down on film. It was awful. Awful.
Coming from playing video games with the kids when Street Fighter was popular, and then when they decided to make movie projects out of Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, and you're right, they were just shit.
And sadly, it could have been done really well. I mean, the background of the games really had good plot hooks to them.
Sure.
If they could have stuck to it and not made it so freaking campy. I mean, everything was campy in this deal.
Mm-hmm.
You had Goro with his claymation arms and stuff. I mean, that thing looked like a retard. I mean, it was awful. Anyway, that movie was just... It was such a letdown. I remember going to see it at the theater thinking, this is going to be good. And in the first 5 minutes, I'm like, this is going to suck so much balls.
Well, I can tell you, though, there are only two parts of that movie that were good for me. And that was Bridget Wilson and Talisa Soto were in there.
See, even they couldn't save it for me.
They couldn't, but you just mute it. Just hit mute and watch them go. Because honestly, it had all kinds of great actors in it. Christopher Lambert. Kerry Tagawa. I mean, Kerry Tagawa kind of is the new martial arts guy from Japan.
Yeah.
You had all these it had so much potential, and they just shit the bed.
Yeah.
It was pretty bad.
Yeah. Christopher Lambert could have saved that movie.
He was Raiden.
He was Raiden in that movie.
That's right.
And then I forget who they got in the second one. That was even worse.
Yeah.
And it was like...
They actually made that movie again?
They did. They made a part 2 to that movie, and they did it with some of the newer characters from the newer game. And it's like, God, put a bullet in this.
You just wonder how some of these things get funded.
Exactly. Somebody got drunk at a bar and said, hey, I got a big pile of cash I want to spend.
Well, as much money as the gaming industry was making at that time, they had a lot of fuck you money to make movies.
They
really did.
That's probably true.
Well, and I wonder how many games it sold.
Probably not many. That would have made me not play that game.
If you think about it, because there's only one movie I can think of that was a game that actually made a pretty good movie, and that was Hitman.
What? Oh, well, that's true.
Yeah,
I didn't think it. I was drawing a blank there. That was a good call. And that was a great movie, too.
It was a very good movie. Timothy Olyphant, though, I mean, my God, that guy's such a great actor and had great characters in it.
Yep.
But that's the only video game that's went to a movie that is actually a good movie.
Yeah. No, that's true. All right, Ken, what do you have?
Man, this one here, I dug up one that I don't think either one of you have seen or heard of, but it's called Gymkhana. And they took an Olympic gymnast named Bart Connors, and they put him in a movie and it was Kurt Thomas, and they made him basically a Jason Bourne kind of guy.
Oh, wow.
And he used his karate and gymnastic skills to fight his way through a village through Yugoslavia.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was awful bad. It's one of those movies that even the TV didn't want to play it.
Right.
It was that bad. It was horrible. So if you get a chance, watch that.
I think I'm dodging another one. I'm a bullet here, but what's funny is him coming from a gymnastic background. I wonder if there was any card flipping after he would do some acrobatics.
Right.
The villagers hold up like an 8-point.
Throw a roundhouse. Throw a roundhouse and hold up the scorecard.
Yeah.
There've been a lot of zeros in that one. It was pretty bad.
Yeah, that again, that goes back to scripting. Who the hell wrote that script and said, "Let's do this"? Just awful.
It was him literally doing a floor routine, just flipping. If you could just see a gymnast just flying through the air, kicking and swinging and doing a floor routine. The only thing he was missing was the ribbons. I mean, it was pretty bad.
It's terrible. All right, well, moving on. We're all the way down to number 2. Ooh. What do you got there, Graham?
Oh, we got a fan favorite here, Barbed Wire with Pamela Anderson.
Holy crap!
And I can honestly say, as long as it's been since I've seen that movie has almost vacated my memory banks. The only thing I can tell you is who was in it. Don't remember a whole lot about it.
Get the brain bleach.
Yeah, she rode a motorcycle and she was nice to look at. That's about all I remember.
I think that was the whole premise of that movie, though.
Horrible movie.
It was pretty bad. It's right up there with the Snapdragon and all the other crap that she made. That was just terrible.
I remember her being on a swing swinging in some sort of lazy outfit. I'm going to go ahead and maybe disagree with you a little bit here, Graham. She kind of saved that movie. Turn the sound off, and just...
See, that's what I'm saying. Mute. Just hit mute.
I could probably watch that movie muted all the way through.
Put it in 60 frames per second and just watch that thing.
Her in a swing, my mind just went elsewhere. So...
But I mean, you can always just watch the Tommy Lee version of it if you want to.
Yeah.
That's what family vacation video.
Yeah.
Tommy Lee and Pamela on a houseboat. Yeah.
Exactly.
What you got, Todd?
Let's see here. For my number 2, I came up with Forced Vengeance,
Classic.
which was a
It's a good pick.
Chuck Norris movie. God, it was awful. I mean, how many times can the guy be a cop beating up the same? It's funny, he beats up the same bad guys in every one of them. Everybody he always fights, I swear to you, you could probably stick 4 or 5 of his movies together where he fights bad guys. And the only thing that's going to change is the choreography of which order he beat them in. I mean, it's that he always beats up the same group of guys. It's like they went out and got the same people. Well, they did. They went out and got the same people to be these little underlings under the main. Now, the main bad guy changes throughout the whole premise. Like with Lone Wolf McQuade, you have Carradine,
Powers Booth.
But all the little underlings are the same guys in every one of them.
You know, it's with him. I remember Good Guys Wear Black and The Octagon, which those two I really liked, and then it just kind of goes downhill from there.
Yeah.
He talks to himself in his head in all his movies. That drives me freaking insane, and he's always in a whisper.
It is distracting.
I'm a badass. I'm gonna throw a roundhouse kick.
It's transcendental meditation.
Exactly. It's
They always go for the hat.
exactly.
When he wore that black hat in that one, it
Yeah.
was, you know, it's funny because these movies are formulaic, and the reason why you see the same guys in the movies because they're performing troops. They basically get their choreography down, and they say, hey, you guys can fight without killing each other, and we don't need stuntmen because you have your own stuntmen.
So in a way, it's financially, physically a way to go about it without people getting hurt.
It is because they all fight together. I mean, Van Damme's movies are like that.
Yeah.
Chuck Norris movies are like it. Jackie Chan. When you look at Jackie Chan movies, those are the same guys that he's been fighting and sparring with for years. And Bruce Lee kind of brought that out.
Okay.
Bruce Lee was one of the guys that was like, you know what? These are guys I'm comfortable with. These are guys I can spar with without hurting. Because when you read about like Van Damme movies, how many guys did he wreck in movies? He hurt a lot of dudes. Not only being a douche and a complete total dick, he actually hurt people in movies because he thought it brought reality to the movies. But they got tired of paying settlements to all these guys that were getting broken.
Well, it
limbs and
actually kind of makes sense now. Now you've
Yeah.
brought a little bit of clarity of why it's the same villains or the same underlings every time he fights them. That you know how that guy's going to throw a punch and how he's going to land and where he's going to be. So it's a timing thing. That actually makes more sense to me now.
You just change their hair, put a mustache on them, make them bald in one movie. And,
Yeah.
oh, that's believable.
Yeah, there you go.
Good point.
Well, Force Vengeance was my number 2. Ken, what do you got for 2?
Simon Says.
Simon Says.
Do you all remember that? Barker?
Man, I'm drawing a blank on that one.
That is when Dennis Rodman was getting out of the basketball and trying to get into movies.
Oh my God.
Yeah, because nothing says I'm a secret spy than a 6'8" black man with orange
green hair. Yeah, green and orange hair.
So yeah, I think I might remember his character from a Van Damme movie because this sounds very familiar.
He did one with Van Damme where they were offsetting partners.
Okay, all right.
But this Double Trouble or something, I think.
Yeah,
it's called Double
Right,
Trouble.
that's it.
Yeah, well, you know,
Was he Simon in that one too?
I don't think so.
He could have been. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. But you know, they keep taking athletes. You know, like they took Michael Jordan and they made Space Jam, which wasn't too bad. But when you take a guy like Rodman and you send him overseas, and then you put in one of the worst comic actors on the planet, Dane Cook. Dane Cook is the most annoying. Next to Jim Carrey, those two are like annoying and annoying more because I just don't like either one of them because they just feel like they got to talk all the damn time.
Right.
And they say stupid shit.
Yes.
And so it's just, that was just one of those movies where how do you look at Rodman as an Interpol agent anywhere?
His elocution is worse than mine. I mean, I slobber on the mic half the time, and I watched that whole movie going, what did he say? What? Who? What are we doing?
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Let's just bury this turd. It's bad.
Yeah, that was a bad one. Back to the top in the number 1. What do you got there, Graham?
Number 1, Speed. I don't care what version you're talking about. Horrible freaking movie. The only really good actor in that movie that I really kind of dug for, at least the first one, was Dennis Hopper. How the fuck did he get rooked into that?
Well, you know what you get with Hopper, which is great.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, he plays crazy really good.
Yeah.
But Speed was just, I can't even begin to describe what Speed was. Just crazy, crazy, stupid idea on a bus. That's pretty much what it was.
Bill and Ted is now a cop.
Very believable. Of course, his first iteration of that, which probably should have made this list, was the one where he's the surfer cop for the FBI.
Point
Break.
Point Break.
There you
Another
go.
Gary Busey movie.
Another Gary Busey movie. And again, he played somewhat of a nut job in that.
And his mentor too. So
Yeah.
it was Keanu's mentor.
Exactly.
That's
Patrick Swayze. Oh my God. Yeah.
But yeah, whoever decided that guy needed to be a cop in any movie, I'll never understand it. At what point do they look at Keanu Reeves and go, that's police material?
Yeah, that dude needs a badge.
Yeah, he needs a badge and a gun.
But he makes a hell of a Russian assassin.
He did.
You know,
He
because
did.
John Wick. I mean, you know, when we talk about actors putting time into their craft, I mean, he spent time with Taron Butler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Manipulates like a master. I mean, he's really good at that.
As he's gotten older, I will say he's gotten better.
yeah.
I do like Keanu Reeves in movies. He's a good actor. Just those first ones, it's Johnny Montana, the football player cop, FBI agent,
Hey,
surfing.
get off the Replacements, man.
Oh, my
I liked him.
God.
in that
That
one.
was-
Replacements was a great movie.
I loved it movie.
I see. I didn't like it.
Really? I did like it.
Gene Hackman didn't convince me as a coach at all. That had to be Hackman's worst movie.
Really?
Yeah, it was.
I liked it. Did you like it, Greg?
I did. I actually own the freaking DVD.
There you go. And the cheerleader in that. Who played the cheerleader? She was.
No,
Flipping
but
hot.
she was smoking. God
Yeah.
damn.
Now you got me looking at that.
Yeah, you're gonna have to go
Yeah.
back. That kind of got. She drives a Jeep. It's got a little
Owns
bit
a
of redeeming
bar.
quality.
My kind of chick
Yeah,
right there.
That's a future grandwife if
Yeah.
you ever saw one.
That's a future ex-wife.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Sam won't be on next week's podcast. Sorry, folks.
All right, my
you got?
number one of all time, and this is gonna get some cringes as well, but Starship Troopers.
Shut
What?
your fucking mouth.
Dude, that thing fucking blew dick. That was
No!
the yes.
You got to
Yes.
admit, that was a pretty bad movie.
The whole thing was bad.
Co-ed showers, motherfucker.
Want to know more? Do you want to know more?
Michael Ironsides and who was the sergeant medic? He's calling
Yeah.
medic every 5 minutes.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Man, I couldn't tell you one actor in that movie. I just really
Michael
couldn't.
Ironsides was their science teacher.
Williams. What was the
Doogie Howser was in it,
Denise-
man.
Doogie
Denise
Howser
Williams.
Denise Williams.
Yeah.
Very redeemable qualities, but just could not save that movie.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. It was Charlie Sheen's ex-wife.
Yeah.
That's a guilty pleasure.
Yeah.
I will watch some Starship. I won't watch the second one. I will watch the first. The second one was fucking horrible.
The premise of it
They
was
made
dumb.
another one?
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
they did.
The premise of it was dumb. I mean, you're fighting a bunch of bugs, and we're flying through space at light speed, yet you can't figure out how to defeat a planet of bugs. It's called Raid. You send down a big can of Raid, game the fuck over. Come on. And then you got bug shit and meteorites out into
those
space.
asteroid
and,
fields were freaking
oh, it
ridiculous.
was just dumb.
Well, the funny part is the Doogie character. You just have to understand the bug, and once he's afraid,
Yeah.
he's only attacking because you're trying to colonize his planet.
Yeah. Well, I don't know that they played that role of
Yeah.
it too, but they did allude to it some.
Yeah, it was.
The acting was so campy. The whole thing was campy.
pretty
The
bad.
fight scenes were campy. Dude, jump the shark already and die.
Okay, so Gary Busey's son was in that movie.
Yes.
Oh my
He was
God.
the mouthy motherfucker
Yeah, he was
in that one.
So
That's
another
Busey's son. I
another
did not
Busey
know
in the
that.
movie. I'm telling you.
Man, we're hitting them on all generational
Yeah,
levels.
this is
telling
firing
you.
on all the cylinders here. But there you go, Starship Troopers for the win or loss in this case.
God damn you, Todd.
I know. What do you got there, Ken? What's number one?
Well, I picked The Prince. This one, if you've seen it, you may like it because it's Jason Patrick. I don't know.
Yeah.
But Bruce Willis was in it. And one of the biggest knocks on this movie was it was blatantly ripped off of the movie Taken with Liam Neeson.
Oh yeah.
It's about a guy that lives a very obscure, quiet life away from the South. His daughter takes off and goes to New Orleans and gets caught up in a strip bar, disappears.
That sounds promising. A strip bar?
It does, right?
writing this down.
So Patrick loads up his car and he goes down to New Orleans, and there's two characters in here. There's Bruce Willis and there's John Cusack.
Okay.
And literally, it looks like the check was in the mail on that one. It was that bad. It was he goes into this town and there's like an underground fight club, and there's all this stuff that he's going through to find people to help him get to his daughter. And it was just bad. He ends up being this kind of Russian character that's been a former, he's a decommissioned assassin for the Russian mafia, and they call him the Prince. And
how do they decommission you as an assassin?
Exactly. It was everything that should be wrong with the movie was right there, all in one place.
We got rid of the K-19s and all our assassins.
Absolutely. It was pretty bad. It was
T-72 tanks out to pasture with the assassins. We all got them stored in the same place over there.
It was pretty bad. It was bad acting, Russians, strippers, mafia, New Orleans. That's basically all you need to know about that.
Okay, so one question I do have as we have wrapped all this worst movies up, how about can you give us your overall assessment?
The overall assessment of what, the entire list?
Yes.
I think there's so many more movies out there that suck just as bad as the 15
that's
just
a
put
great
up here.
assessment, Ken.
Because it's just unbelievable some of the crap that gets put on the screen today and is actually sold as a movie.
I think it really speaks to the drug and alcohol abuse in California as to how much crap gets written.
You got to wonder, hey, I got this $20 million. Let's just get a bunch of dudes together and make a movie. Because that's what some of this seems to be.
Who wants to do some blow?
I'm going to say that I'm actually kind of glad that I've missed out on a few of these. And then I would probably say some people's assessments of some of these movies are lies.
Yeah.
So how about you, Todd?
The one that I didn't recognize the name at first, The Prince. Until you started covering that, I realized that I'd seen that movie, and it was bad. When you started talking about it, it was one of those movies where I was laying on the couch and I fell asleep like 5 times, and I would wake up and it would still be on. It's like, fuck, get this thing off the fucking TV. But
even sleep can't outrun this movie.
Exactly. It was that bad. But yeah, just the overall badness. I mean, we've covered some, but there's so many more. But none worse than Starship Troopers, obviously. Eat a dick, Sam. But anyway, we'll go ahead and wrap that up. That's a good list we got there. That's all for today's podcast. Thanks for listening to The Cooler.